Well, congratulations on the new record. Sounds
Oh,
great.
thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
beautiful
Thank
album.
you. Thanks, man.
Now, let me ask you this. I think that the live record thing really lends itself well to jazz and improvised music because that's what you're getting in the audience is the spontaneity of the moment and the experience in the moment. But it's a daunting task to do that because you don't have the same leeway you would in the studio to try to correct everything or to make it exactly perfect the way that you'd want to or whatever. But maybe that's part of the deal. What did you do to prepare for, being able to just do this? Was it one night at the Jazz Gallery?
Yeah. It was one night. We played 2 sets, and we played the exact same set, both sets.
Sure.
And then, of course, every take came from the second set because we'd all had a glass of wine at intermission and like relaxed a little bit. I think
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, you're so right. It's a different challenge, and I'm really glad that I decided to do it because. Well, at first, I just really I love like live records in general. And I really thought that as much as I love the first Big Heart Machine album, I thought it somehow was missing the actual energy of the band,
Okay, sure.
And because we went so deep in rehearsal, we had Darcy James Argy produce that record, and he's such a perfectionist, and he's made so many records. He really has it down to a science. And we went wild basically with what was available in the studio. Like we super isolated everything. We did tons of editing. We used a bunch of effects. We did the whole studio thing to the fullest.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, what came out was sort of this like perfect representation of the scores, but it was missing something intangible,
Sure. Interesting.
Yeah. And I think there's actually a trend in jazz right now towards perfection on records.
Sure.
And I think that that's doing a couple things, which is one, giving people like a very unrealistic idea of what a group sounds like in real life.
Sure.
And also is like robbing the music of some danger,
Yeah.
And yeah, I just realized I'm really not answering your question.
No,
but,
I think, yeah. But
anyways,
that's a component too of a lot of my favorite records is like even the studio, like they had a lot of control over Miles Ahead or Sketches of Spain or whatever, but it's not really about the fact that everything's perfect on those records. Like the way that Miles plays and like some of the cracks and whatever he's doing, or like the way that the band is coming together. It's not really, it doesn't have to be super precise. It's about the vibe of the whole thing.
Exactly. And I think that might come with experience in the studio, like those guys were recording so much, so many days of the year they would be in the studio. So they were comfortable there and they felt free to take chances and to like make mistakes. And they sort of probably knew like, oh, that take was awesome. The magic was happening there. But, for me, I don't have that much experience in the studio. Every time I'm in the studio, if I had to guess, it might be 5 or 6 times in a year. It's really not a lot. Or like 5 or 6 separate sessions, and those might be over a few days.
Sure.
So every time I'm in the studio, I find myself just really focusing on not making mistakes, worrying about a million different details, from like where the catering might be at that moment to somebody's late and we should have started tracking half an hour ago,
Sure. Yeah, especially if you're the leader of the group.
Not really in the zone of...
Yeah, right.
Right. And so what I did with this live record was sort of like engineer a situation where I wouldn't have the chance to worry about it because it was, it was all just happening. It was such a blur,
Yeah, right.
And so there are a lot of mistakes on the record, and couldn't care less. I love all of them, as
That's kind
tends
of
to
amazing.
happen.
Sure.
Yeah, and the energy is just, I love the energy. I think that it's a really exciting. I think it's getting closer to a what I like in records.
Sure.
It feels, you can feel the tension, you can hear the interaction with the band, and the difficult moments they sound difficult because you can hear the band making mistakes or trying and failing, and so I think it really makes for a nice listening experience.
Sure.